This is Tech Trends, a program that takes you on a ride to seek out innovation and creativity that are unique to Africa. On this week's episode, co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Bill Gates engages innovators and creators in a conversation in Lagos aimed at advancing artificial intelligence in Africa to tackle inequity. Also on the program, Preston Ide, CEO of Steers, joins me to discuss the future of innovation in Africa. We give you all that in a moment. A warm welcome to the program. I'm Olayemi Otunuga. I believe in innovation, and that the way you get innovation is you fund research and you learn the basic facts. Co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Bill Gates has engaged innovators and creators in Lagos in a conversation he hopes will help drive the advancement of artificial intelligence in Africa, especially to fight inequity. The moderated event was aimed at gathering insights and sharing perspectives on how science and innovation can accelerate positive change and contribute to a brighter outlook for Africa. The Africa Youth and Innovation Forum was organized in partnership with the Lagos Business School, Co-Creation Hub, and Channels Television. It's a room full of startup founders, technology experts, innovators, and some of the brightest minds in Nigeria, as they come together to gain insights from a tech icon and global change maker, Bill Gates. The Pan-African Youth Innovation Forum 2023 is a gathering of tech champions in Africa, hosted by the Lagos Business School and Co-Creation Hub, with support from the Center for Communication and Social Impact, as well as Channels Television.
Science and innovation are catalysts for progress and can serve as powerful vehicles for addressing Africa's most pressing challenges. We must create an enabling ecosystem that nurtures innovation, encourages collaboration, and fosters a culture of research and development. This forum provides an opportunity for our youth to engage with thought leaders, industry experts, visionaries like Mr. Bill Gates. Together, we can learn from one another, share insights, and forge meaningful partnerships to accelerate Africa's scientific and technological advancements.
Mr. Gates, who is the co-chair of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, in his speech says more opportunities have emerged since his last visit to Nigeria in 2018.
There's really a lot of opportunity now because of new technologies to improve all the different sectors, you name it, health, education, finance. Now, Nigeria is in some ways a contrast. The challenges I talked about 5 years ago, focusing the finances on investments in the future, having strong finances, having a level of stability economically and in terms of security that allows for long-term investments. Those are challenges. And so even as you do great work, your voice, your influence to drive the policies to use these resources for the future will be very important. When it comes to making the world a better place, talented young people like yourself are the world's most important asset. And that's good news for Nigeria because it has one of the biggest young populations in the world. It's continuing to grow. And that represents, with the right investments, a lot of incredible skills and passion to tackle these tough problems.
Mr. Gates not only praises Nigeria's tech sector for its growth so far, but also acknowledges the country's creative industry as well.
You know, Afrobeats from Nigeria are popular everywhere. When my daughter Phoebe heard I was coming to Nigeria, she said, "Oh, you're lucky you get to go see Burma Boy and Rima." So I had to look them up because I'm so hip. But I also remember the last time I was here, I did get to see Davido and WizKid perform, and I was quite impressed with that. So, my kids think I've come to a very hip place. And of course, the music may be the most visible, but broadly across all cultural areas, whether it's authors or movies, Nollywood, there's some great work going on. And it's a significant industry, so that, it's great, particularly here in Lagos, to have that leadership. So across many areas, the creativity and entrepreneurship really is why I'm optimistic that despite huge challenges, Nigerians will have a great future and bring wonderful things to the world.
After his speech, the American business magnate and investor, best known for co-founding software giant Microsoft, engaged in a chat with Bosun Tijani, co-founder and CEO of Co-Creation Hub. It was a rare opportunity to get into the mind of the global philanthropist and technology leader and understand why, after being so successful, he uses his resources and expertise to deliver impacts.
You seem to be well invested and interested in literally everything you work on. What sort of framework do you use to decide what's urgent, what's important, what issues you should focus on?
Well, when I was young, I was very lucky to be exposed to computers when they were super expensive. And then I also, looked at what was going on with chip technology. And so the idea that the personal computer and magic software combined with that could really be a fun tool for me to use to get things done, but then more broadly for everyone, that was very motivating. And, so it's a nice match that the thing that I was good at happened to be something where there was both an opportunity to build a big company and to have an impact. And then when I got Microsoft being so successful, I really had to say to myself, okay, these resources, which are gigantic, how am I going to give them back to society? I mean, after all, only a small percentage do I need, to buy cheeseburgers or, a few nice things for my kids, then what? And I asked kind of a basic question, which is, how many kids die? What do they die of? Is that different in different places? And, I'd been to Africa as part of my Microsoft career, and I'd seen the beauty and the energy, but to find out that the rich versus developing country divide on health was so dramatic, and there was so little resource going into it because, for malaria, it's not like you're going to get rich if you make, great bed nets or even a vaccine. And so Melinda, my wife at the time, and I decided these health issues would be our primary thing.
Mr. Gates spoke a lot about how advances in technology, especially artificial intelligence, can help fight inequity. He provides insight on the impact AI could have on education, health, agriculture, and even government services. His suggestion on the adaptation of AI in Africa was that it should cater to the continent's realities.
We need AI capability here in Africa. We need AI experts here in Africa. We need to adapt to African languages. In health, the challenges of health in Africa are very different, so we need the data sets that go in. So if you can't get to a doctor, which many Africans can't, and you're talking to it in your native language, its ability to diagnose, that's dengue, that's yellow fever, that's malaria. We're not just going to take some, U.S. medical thing and be able to apply that. Well, in general, in Africa and in the entire world, it'd be hard to overinvest at AI at this point. And that includes just taking the AI that's there and saying, hey, how do we make government bureaucracy quicker?
Yes.
Can we approve applications like twice as fast as we do? Because even though it's tough to hire workers, this bureaucratic things, it's really good at this. dealing with medical claims or taxes or things like that. So the biggest win won't necessarily be being part of the invention, although every continent will contribute to that. The big win will be part of the application. You can just imagine how big that is, particularly in places where you have a shortage of white-collar workers. The government is not as well staffed on some of these issues, but now they can be, and they can be way more efficient.
After the chat with Bill Gates, Bosun Tijani also moderates a panel session with 3 Nigerian innovators to learn about their startup journey and why they chose their paths. After the event, there were networking opportunities for attendees to interact with other professionals, games for relaxation, and a virtual reality exhibition. Here's what some of the organizers had to say about Bill Gates' visit.
Every problem is a profitable business opportunity, but most times we focus only on the problem. We forget that what made Bill Gates great is solving a problem. Okay? He was born at a time when computers were very expensive. You only had mainframe computers. And it was his passion and desire to put a PC on every desk that drew him into wealth and prominence globally. And so we need to change our perspective in Africa to see that our problems are opportunities to create businesses that solve them. That's how we create jobs, and that's how we create wealth. Because if you provide solutions, people will be willing to pay.
This event has been quite insightful, and you and I know that the role of technology can never be overemphasized. It helps in making sure that things are being done faster. I'm very happy with the insights that Bill Gates gave today. It was quite engaging. The conversation was quite engaging. Even his responses to the questions that were being asked. It was really, really beneficial to all the participants, the attendees, all those that attended the event today. So it was quite good. And there are lots of takeaways for me. For me, the importance of youth embracing science and technology and being innovative is key.
Other attendees at the event talk about how the conversation resonated with them and can make an impact on the minds of young innovators.
I'm not just a change maker, I'm a dreamer, and I believe that the only future worth dreaming of is one that includes all of us, right? I want to talk about a future that is very inclusive. We're saying that there are people, for example, there are 20 million children that cannot be in school, right? So we talk about this future, Bill Gates talk about AI, technology, technology is eating the world, software is eating the world, but then there are 20 million children that don't even have basic literacy. So how do you expect them to function in a future like that? It's really impossible. So they become a liability to that future. We can't let that happen because our greatest resource is in our human capital. And it is those children that would grow up and either become, and either contribute to Nigeria's prosperity or become a liability, right? So, the talk on, inequity really helped me understand what we need to do to bridge that gap.
I was just learning that there were so many other industries that AI can actually impact, and learning about how much further we are away from where we need to be in terms of education and financials as well. So basically for me, it's keeping an open mind on the possibilities that exist today and the possibilities that can exist in the future as well. Learning what we have at our fingertips today and how that can actually reshape what it is that we're going to do in the future. So delving into other technological industries as well that can actually allow us to advance in whatever it is that we're doing currently at the state. That's it.
To me, listening to some of the points that were being made and some of the information that was being shared and the impact that we've had on somebody who's one of the biggest minds in the 21st century with Bill Gates, to understand that he's talking about our culture here. He's talking about Davido and WizKid and different things like that, but he's also giving us insight about the healthcare system and agriculture and different things like that. So I think it should be inspiring, and it should let everybody here know that that what we are doing here is making a difference, is making waves. Not everything is positive, not everything is exactly the way we want it, but we still do have that opportunity and that chance to make those relationships and make those moves that'll put us in a better position.
The Youth Innovation Forum is an avenue for Bill Gates to engage young innovators and creators who are providing solutions to Africa's challenges, as well as share insights on how they can drive positive change in various sectors on the continent using artificial intelligence. innovation is a key concept vital to driving sustainable growth in Africa, and the level of technological advancement witnessed in today's world opens up new opportunities to drive change and spur economic development. Through creative innovations, especially in artificial intelligence, robotics, virtual reality, among others, a lot of young minds are finding better ways to solve local problems, thereby building the continent's capacity to ensure a thriving digital economy. Preston Ide, CEO of STARS, shares his thoughts on advancing innovation in Africa. What are your thoughts on the state of innovation in Africa today?
Well, I think innovation is something that Africa has seen a particular sort of boom in the last decade. We've seen the growth of lots of very innovative startups working on some really complex problems that, quite frankly, will not be solved without the evolution and the advancements of technology. So I think that Africa as a continent is really pushing forward when it comes to innovation. And there are areas where we're probably a bit more advanced, particularly like financial services, where we're solving problems that perhaps the rest of the world isn't yet experiencing or isn't experiencing the same way. But I think that innovation on the continent has definitely been a growth story, and probably the most significant growth story that we've seen on the continent in the last decade.
Now, when we talk about innovation, more often than not, we speak about science and technology. But how can we inspire more young people to innovate and help solve significant problems using science and tech?
Yes, I think it's actually a very simple answer to that, and it's really to tell our stories. And when it comes to inspiration, nothing inspires young people more than knowing they can do it because they've seen other people doing it, right? We have lots of success stories across the entire innovation ecosystem, and consistently making those stories prominent, consistently showing how some people are really changing the way the world sees the continent, the way problems are solved, right? I think that is the key. As long as those stories are consistently told, I think that we'll continue to see a very, very powerful demographic of people, get involved. The other part of it that I think is really important is, quite frankly, government support. People would be very careful about going into a sector where they feel there isn't a lot of support from, the public sector. So it's very important that with initiatives like the Startup Act, right, the government continues to show explicitly its support for innovation, science, and technology.
Now, investment is also very key in this space. How can young people position themselves to be able to get the funds they need to scale up the ideas and innovations they have?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think capital is definitely one of the bigger barriers to innovation, particularly in technology, because, you need access to talent, you need access to so many tools that are, quite frankly, expensive. But I think it's really about understanding the investor more than anything, right? And, primarily when it comes to innovation, most investment comes from venture capitalists in Europe, venture capitalists in the US, and of course in Nigeria as well. We have a very active crop of angel investors. I think the key to attracting capital is understanding the needs of these investors, because investors need to raise money, they need to deploy it, and they need to return it, right? So building businesses that can actually absorb the kind of funding that investors have available is key. And of course, it comes back to this issue of storytelling, because to get the kind of investment dollars that we need to tell our stories to those investors. But I do think fundamentally, for young people who are trying to attract capital, it's about understanding the needs of the investors, understanding what they want to invest in, why they want to invest in, how they want to invest in, and then building companies that can actually take the dollars in and return them back to them at, significantly higher exit points.
You mentioned the Startup Act, which is supposed to help create an enabling environment for startups and SMEs and other small companies in Nigeria. But do you think we're still playing catch up in terms of regulations and policies?
Yes, well, generally, if you look across the African continent, there are about probably 9 countries that have startup acts or are currently considering startup acts, right? There are only 3 of them that actually have startup acts, and Nigeria is one of them, alongside Tunisia and Senegal, right? The other 6, countries are still in the process of actually legislating. So I would say that Nigeria is ahead when it comes to regulation. Of course, we've seen that in the last sort of administration, there has been some friction as people try to understand the regulatory landscape. And of course, regulators try to stay ahead of, the innovators in the ecosystem. But fundamentally, I would say that, Nigeria is on the right path. We still have so much more to do. We still have to implement the proposals in Startup Act. So, recently we did some analysis that was showing that we still need to effectively follow the conclusions that we put in Startup Act. So I think there's still more room for improvement. But when you look at the fact that we have a Startup Act, across sort of 9 countries on the continent, and ours is one of 3 that are actually being legislated, I think that we are doing well and we just need to keep improving.
Still on improvement. Over the years, we've had discussions about strengthening our innovation system. But don't you think we need larger conversations that not only support startups and SMEs, but also large companies as well?
Yes, I think you are right in that regard. And the best way to think about it is, what is the job of technology, right? I mean, technology at its core is really about efficiency, right? It's you taking some inputs and effectively producing outputs with fewer resources. And if you think about it from that perspective, then startups, small businesses, large organizations can benefit from technology. And it's not limited to just small companies or to startups. If you look at the Nigerian ecosystem, for instance, our technology ecosystem, telecom, they have played a very big and significant role. Similarly, the banks, right? So you have 2 really large industries, banks and telecommunication companies, that have played significant roles in our ecosystem. So it's definitely not limited to startups, but I would say that startups end up being the engine, just because the nature of creativity is such that sometimes groups of small people who effectively focus or hyper-focus on a problem can actually do more than perhaps large companies can do over time.
Well, Preston, you are at the Pan-African Youth Innovation Forum, organized by the Lagos Business School, co-creation of, and of course, Channels Television. It was a unique opportunity to learn from Mr. Bill Gates, co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and he spoke a lot about how advances in technology, especially artificial intelligence, can help drive change in health and the agricultural sector. How do we ensure that the learnings from that chat are sustained and imbibed by young people?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Channels has a big role to play when it comes to that, right? It's about disseminating the information and making sure that, lots of the things he mentioned, he talked about, is really shared with, the large proportion of, Nigerians who are interested in this space. I think that the event got the right amount of attention. I think that what Bill Gates talked about was enough to sort of inspire, spur young people. And I think that's doing the job. Of course, we need more of these kinds of events, right, for these conversations to happen for key stakeholders, not just young people, but regulators, investors, operators across the entire continent to kind of see the opportunities. But I think it's really just continuing the conversation, because as people work, it's important that their work is sort of seen and is promoted, and that inspires more and more people to actually get involved and also build in a similar way.
And as one of the few who got to hear from, this global leader and a great achiever, Bill Gates, what did you take away from the event?
Yes, I think I have a bias, of course. Steers is a data intelligence company, so we're very excited about what he said around artificial intelligence. I think that is one technology that has really changed the way people see the future. Lots of conversations around technology always relate to what does the future hold for us, right? But I think artificial intelligence and the pace at which it is improving is really going to change the entire way we look at the world, the way we do things. And in our space, particular information services, data, intelligence, I think there's a lot of opportunity for, African companies or operators in Africa to really take advantage, because we can build things significantly faster than our predecessors, right? We can take advantage of information, we can reduce information asymmetry. So I think that, the most exciting part for me was really hearing his views. I mean, he commented on just how impressed he is with, the models coming from AI and really what they're doing in the world. So I think that it's a very important technology to watch and make sure that, we also play an important part of that long-term story as well.
Well, that was a great conversation with you, Preston Ide, CEO of STARS. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us on Tech Trends.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Well, that's it on this episode of Tech Trends. Many thanks for staying with us. As always, we will continue to show you how tech-savvy innovators are crafting homegrown solutions using technology in the country. From startups to big techs and, of course, inventful thinkers. We'll show you all. And if you missed any part of it, you can always catch up on the channel's TV Tube account where we have all of our episodes. And I encourage you to watch, share, and like your favorite editions. For Tech Trends, I'm Olayemi Odunuga. I'll see you next time.